just as your background, be like, what it is that you do right now?
No.
All right. So just, because I know some people are a little bit more private.
Yeah. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Let me know when you're ready, John. So today we have one of our very own members right here. What is your name, sir?
Francisco Bogarin.
Francisco Bogarin, awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about your background, pretty much, what brought you in here, first of all?
Well, what brought me in was I was doing other workouts that seemed to kind of flatline a little bit, not too much. I lost a little bit of motivation with those workouts. It was more just work, climbing a mountain, doing walks and that kind of stuff. But what brought me in was just trying to change it up, trying to get something different, to get a little bit more motivation, a little bit just different workout.
Okay, awesome. Now, what made you work out? You told me about you went to the doctor and something.
Type 2 diabetes. I'm type 2, and I've been type 2 for about at least a little bit over 2 years. And doing the metformin, the glipizide, and all these different medications. And with type 2, I know that it's reversible with diet and exercise. So that's one of the things that kind of motivated me to start working out and change up my diet.
Yeah. Well, it's a really interesting topic because I know a lot of people, when they do find out, especially in our Latin culture, when they find out that they have the type 2 diabetes, they rarely do what you do, and you're like, hey, I gotta do something about this. I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna change my diet. What made you actually act on that and not just say, hey, I have this, I'm gonna deal with it?
My A1C was not getting any better. It was just sort of like just there, and I kept doing the blood work, and my doctor just would kind of just say, hey, you're still, your A1C is still high, so keep on the medication. And at one point I'm like, okay, all this could lead to heart disease and bad health and everything else that comes along with type 2. So at that point I'm like, okay, I got to do something different. I got to change it up. So with that being said, that's when I started kind of looking into different types of workouts and just how the body works and how the different workouts with different body parts, different from cardio to a little bit of weight training to this and that, how all that could your body just could get a little bit better workouts in that sense. So with that being said, that's why I found the underground and I decided to come on in and start doing that. And then after that also being very strict with your diet. I mean, really, I think maybe 85 to 90% of the time you have to be strict on your diet.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy some of our foods that we love.
Oh, yeah, man, of course.
Those tacos, you gotta have those sometimes.
Yeah.
But you really do have to be very strict with your diet.
Yeah.
And also be disciplined with your workouts. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I am here pretty much 5-6 days a week.
Oh no, you're always here, man. You're doing a good job. Actually, you're doing the best. One of the best that come all the time. Now. You told me actually recently that you have some pretty good news about that from the doctor, that hopefully you should be able to...
Yeah, so the last blood work that I did about 2 months ago, my A1C was down right around 600. So that means that I'm ready to almost get off the medication. So I'm supposed to be doing more blood work here soon, and I'm hoping maybe another 2-3 months, if I keep it up with the workout and the diet and everything else, that maybe he's gonna take me off the medication. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, dude, that's super exciting, man. I'm really excited to hear that. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you onto this locker room talk in particular is it's kind of hard to hide, but I have noticed that you're very particular with certain things, even from where you stand. And I like it that you're very detailed in certain things.
Yeah.
You're from a lot of the guys. I was actually just talking to Randy about this. I usually feel like for some reason the women at our facilities, they actually do progress really fast, and one of the reasons I believe that is because they're always open to constructive criticism at the gym. And you as a guy, I do believe that you actually do have the same thing. You're open to constructive criticism, and because of that, you have been progressing very faster at the facility.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you do have a business of your own, and I know you do pretty well for yourself. Yes. Do you feel that what I just mentioned has a lot to do with what you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, I think being meticulous in your life, being meticulous in who you are, and I believe in equilibriums. You know, I don't know if you ever noticed, but when I put my mat down, I always line it up with the lines, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like we'll be doing the burpees and it goes off one side or something, and I'm lining it back up. I don't know why I do that, but it's just like, to me, it's like, I see the mat a little sideways and it's off. I'm like, okay, I gotta straighten this out. So it's all about equilibriums, you know what I mean? And that's where I do that here, and I try to do that in my daily life. I try to have done that with all my businesses, you know, and you always try to equate things. You always try to say, you know, too much of this is not good, or too little of that, I need to push that up, you know, so you always just try to equate things. And I think as far as, you know, just your self-growth and both working out and the workouts and everything, I'll give you a good scenario, okay? See, us men, you know, we get a little bit of that machismo in us. And I've seen, you know, a few of these workouts, and at first you're explaining this to us, you know, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm saying, oh my God, that is such a girl workout, you know? But then, when you actually start doing it, you're like, oh man, you know, what was I talking about? I mean, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? There's some workouts that us as men, we've never done before, but all of a sudden you're thinking, what am I gonna do that for, you know? But then all of a sudden you start doing, you're like, holy smoke, this is really burning, you know? And then the next few days come out there, you're like, man, I've never been sore in these areas before. So that's where sometimes I think we need to open up our minds, open up your mind to something different. I think that's a big growth. Sometimes I think we sort of get that tunnel vision as people, both men and women. We get that tunnel vision, and we don't want to see, you know, outside the box, kind of. And I think we need to be open to that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's definitely true. Actually, I've actually have noticed that whenever I have to do something new, whether it's at the gym or my supplement company, I always have to get that feedback. And I've noticed with time, in the beginning where I would get offended by it, then with time I was like, no, this is good. I need it for growth. That's the only way you're going to be able to grow with constructive criticism. Have you always been this way though?
No. It does take some growing and maturing, you know, it does. And I think at the end of the day, sometimes with the constructive criticism, we have to learn to listen. Listen, just hear people. Sometimes it's better to hear people out or to hear other people rather than you put your 2 cents into it. So I think listening is a big aspect of that. I think today's society, people aren't listening anymore. People just want to yell and scream as loud as they can or try to get their 2 cents into the conversation instead of just sitting back and taking it all in. You know?
Well, I mean, for me personally, it's kind of hard to believe because I always notice that you are always open to, you know, constructive criticism. Can you give us an example of maybe like the times that you were stubborn? I mean, like how were you in the past?
I guess I was stubborn, you know.
Is there like a story that stands out or a particular experience with that?
Well, what would be one? Just being. I can't remember any particular situation, but trust me, I have been very stubborn in the past. It just, I think, comes back to our own personalities. You know, I know what I'm doing. I don't need nobody to tell me what to do, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to maybe any particular story as far as something that maybe I could relate to that.
Or if not, maybe while you think about it, at least what made you finally understand that you did need to be open to new ideas? Was there something in business, something in your personal life?
Yeah, I think sometimes if something's not working, you have to change it. You know, and that's where some of that stubbornness, sometimes you keep drilling that same brick wall and it's not going nowhere. You know, so that's where that stubbornnness comes in. So sometimes you have to say, wait a minute, you know what, instead of trying to go through this brick wall, why don't I try to go around it or go over it or try to find something else? So you have to try to get away from that mentality of being stubborn. And I think once again, I go back to the machismo, you know, and I go back to even some of our, you know, cultural backgrounds. You know, as Hispanics, you know, we tend to be, you know, that way, and it's just tough, you know, it's tough. But I think you grow with getting rid of some of that, and you just open up to more different things, different aspects of trying to learn something new, and just get rid of that that brick wall that we so often run in because of being that stubborn person.
Yeah. Do you have any particular exercises you do for that, or is it just happen with life experience in general?
No, I think what I do more or less is now when there's a situation maybe that comes up, or maybe I'm like, I'm adamant about this, or this is going to happen regardless of anything or anybody. I think sometimes we just need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit, take a couple steps back, take a couple deep breaths, and maybe just come at the situation on a whole nother mentality, on a whole nother level, mentally.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's a little bit of that stubbornness will maybe kind of,
Yeah.
and then you can see it different and maybe open up to something else.
Yeah, I mean, I know one things that has helped me in particular, and I know my friends can attest for me, whenever I want to do something new, for example, if it's like for example, we have the soaps now, something little. I'm always on the phone trying to call them. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this idea? And then I'll call another friend and be like, hey, what do you think about this idea? And then another friend, hey, what do you think about this idea? And the thing is, I feel that you always have to be open to different perspectives in general. That's going to help you grow as an individual.
Yes.
And they always wonder, well, why don't you just do it? You've had a business for so long. And they're like, no, because I want to hear the pros and cons. I want to hear everybody's different perspective, the pros and cons. But what can be good from this? What can be bad from this? That's what I always try to live by, is just not taking it personal and just looking at it as more as upbuilding. Yeah. We actually just had this talk with Randy, and he actually believes the same thing as well, too. You always have to be open to the constructive criticism. Absolutely. In general.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen any particular circumstances, you don't clean people's names out, but have you ever seen circumstances where somebody wasn't open to it and they ended up being destructive to the person or the individual?
Yeah, I have. It's just sometimes when you're too close-minded, it just comes back to haunt you. Sometimes when you're not open to listening to other people or even their suggestions or their advice, it just comes back and kicks you in the rear.
Yeah.
Both, with businesses and just marriage.
Kids.
Let's not go. The horrible thing that's happening in our society is addiction, all those things, but you have to be open to have other people tell you something that maybe you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And accept it, because I think that's one of the most important things that we need to do is be open to other people telling you different things about maybe something that you don't agree with.
Yeah, no, it's true. I remember when I first opened the gym, we were getting busy. And what was funny about it was that I always thought that people were coming to the facility because the workouts are great, they're fun, but that's what I always thought it was. And then I have a brother-in-law who's very, just like you, he pays very close attention to everything. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he's like, hey, you do know that, the workouts are good, but people aren't here for the workouts. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what are you trying to tell me? What do you mean? I was like, yeah. He's like, people are coming here for the atmosphere. Right. People are coming here to feel better for the rest of the day, the vibes that people get at the facility.
Correct.
And at first I sat back for 2 days and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is nonsense. And I was like, and then, I sat back and I analyzed it and I was like, well, you're right. That's what it is. So then from there forward, with Underground, what we've always focused on is having people feel comfortable when they come in to work out. Our first thing is to make sure, even if you come in with negative energy, we're going to come in, we're going to destroy that negative energy, and we're going to make you feel like you're in a very good area.
Absolutely, yeah. I got that from the beginning, and I think that it's very important. I have this old saying, my grandpa, rest in peace, he always told me, tell me who you hang with and I'm going to tell you who you are. And I think that's very important, especially in an atmosphere like here. You just want to feed off of people's energy. You want to feed off of positive energy. And that's what I think you get when you come. That's what I've gotten since I've been here.
Yeah.
And we're human. I know that I've seen a couple times. Maybe somebody who was maybe in a good mood the prior day maybe comes in. Life takes over. And they're maybe in here a little serious or whatever. But then you just try to maybe throw a little bit of your positive energy to them, and believe it or not, I notice you can do do that, maybe just even say one thing to that person or make a comment to them about something good, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden their whole persona changes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's real good. And I strongly believe that in the vibes and the energy of people. I mean, you as a human being have to go with your intuitions, with your gut feelings, you
Yeah.
know, and you could be I've had this happen to me, I don't know if you have, I could be in a store, literally in line, I have somebody standing next to me, and I can literally feel that it's like the heaviness of them, and I'm just like, oh man, you could feel it.
Yeah.
Let me get this taken care of him,
Yeah.
and then you also can feel positive energies from people. So, I think that's very important. That's your human intuition has to take over and realize when it's something good or something bad or something positive or something negative, and go with it. You know?
So that ties into with what your grandpa told you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who are.
That's right.
Do you usually try to keep a positive group around you, a group of individuals
doubt.
around? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have to try to keep, good people around you, positive people, and I think that's very important, because I think it emulates.
Yeah.
It emulates, and I think it's very important to be around positive people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, do you feel though do you feel like the people that you hang out with are usually, what's the word I'm looking for? They're always progressing, what's the word? Doing self-improvement? Because usually I always try to hang out with people that are always constantly open to constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
We always give each other feedback, and it's always something positive. Is that usually the kind of people that you hang around with usually?
Yeah.
Is that why you've been able to do what you do, being able to take the criticism?
I think, who you surround yourself with, that's very important, and being able to take some of that constructive criticism from smart people and all that, and your gut intuition, all those different things, I think they all kind of fall into place, sort of that domino effect. And I think at the end of the day, or at the end of the domino effect, you just, that light, that comes there, and I'm sure you've had it. I know I've had it. I mean, I've sort of had different things happen in my life, both with business and in my personal life, where things start happening, and you're getting around people, and they're telling you this or telling you that, or you're doing this, or you're changing this in this kind of way, and then all of a sudden it's that moment, like this is okay, I get it now, kind of thing,
Awesome. Okay, it's gonna be a really quick change in subject actually, but we have had members that have inquired about how to start a business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How to keep a positive attitude, things you're gonna run into. This is specifically for Nancy, and she's gonna be tuning in. What are some of the things she could expect in the beginning? Some obstacles. How do you keep positive, and how do you grow into a business such as the size of yours?
First, I think you need to write down your goals. Write down your goals. Get a business plan. Do your due diligence on what it is you're trying to accomplish, or what type of business you're trying to accomplish. Maybe once again, get yourself around people that are in that line of work. Do some homework, do some due diligence, set those goals, and just every day that goes by, just try to take that next step towards accomplishing that business.
Yeah.
Or getting to that next goal, and then checking off that one particular part of getting to your business. I still have a notepad.
Oh, hey.
From like 1990.
Awesome.
It makes me feel old when I say it. From 1990.
What's a notepad? Randy, what's a notepad?
Yeah. I still have it. I still have it. It's a notepad of the goals that I set for myself back in the day from my trucking business, and I've reached them and I've surpassed them. And my wife found this not too long ago, and she showed it to me, and it was just like, wow. It was pretty amazing. But I mean, I would say for that person that's trying to do that is those things: set your goals, do your due diligence, do your homework, do everything else, get some advice from people, once again, advice, open-minded, and get ready for the constructive criticism, and know that it's not going to be all, peaches and roses. You're going to have some rough patches, and that's where you have to grind through and keep your goals set and work through it.
Now, do you feel, because I feel that's what actually helped me when we started like way smaller next door, was that there were some times where I just woke up. I'm not even making this up. One time I woke up in the middle of the night. I woke up with night sweats, and I was like, what are you doing? I woke up telling myself, like, why are you doing this? You should probably go to college. I was telling myself that, right? I was like, what are you doing? You're pretty crazy. You're about to have a kid. But then I remembered I had a goal. And then my wife, when I started the gym, it's all perspective. I love my wife. She's always been like the one who's been helping me grow. She's like, hey, I want you to give it 100% for a year. She's like, giving you a year in particular, because we do have the kids coming. Mm-hmm. And what was crazy was, since I had that goal to make it happen in a year, I actually ended up pushing a lot harder than I normally would.
Yeah.
And it was because I had that goal there.
That's right.
Is that what helped you get through the rough patches?
It's that yin and yang effect, because once again, sometimes we get a different perspective from a female perspective.
Yeah.
Much less our wives.
Yeah.
And I think they're sort of our backbones.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we'll deviate a little bit. Like you said, you'll doubt yourself, and then when you have somebody that's been there from day one, like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? No, man, let's see this through. Go ahead, So I mean, that's good, and I think that's very important, especially if you do have a significant other.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes we do listen to them, because sometimes they know us better than we know ourselves.
Oh yeah, my wife, she can literally break down every single thing I'm going to do, how I'm going to react, and I'll look at her and I'm like, why are you doing this? She's like, because I know you already. And I just look at her and I'm like, all right, you're right, I'm going to do that.
Right. And it can give you a different perspective, because I think there's also times where, our personalities, we're like, oh yeah, you get an opportunity, you're like, yeah, you want to go with it. And then they'll be like, whoa, hold on a second. They see it on a whole nother level, and something different. They see a different perspective of it. You're like, oh man, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Now, it's funny about this, because it all goes back to criticism. Constructive criticism. I actually heard a podcast, particularly on what we're talking about with the wives right now. And in the beginning, when I was taking criticism from my wife on the business, I used to be like, why are you doubting me? Why are you raining on my parade? Mm-hmm. But I actually, what was funny what the podcast was talking about, I was like, no, they're not doubting you. You're viewing things this way, and they're viewing another view from it. And you guys are going to come to a decision where you're going to balance each other out. Yeah. Do you see it like that, or or was it always like that you saw it that way in the beginning, where you're like, why are you doing this?
Yes. Yeah, I've said that, and then when they come back later on, you'll be like, man, I'm glad I listened to her, because
we can't tell her though, right?
A lot of times,
no, I don't.
a lot of times, sometimes we need to know that they have our best interest at stake,
Yeah.
And it's for our families and our children.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't advise us in any kind of way that would not be a benefit to us as a family.
Yeah.
So you have to be open to it. And once again, we go back to our machismo, but we have to let that go.
Okay, awesome. Now, a lot of people don't know our backgrounds. We all come from different backgrounds. Some viewers tuning in may because they haven't seen the how everybody started, may say things like, hey, you can say this because you're in a good position, right? Now, it always hasn't been like that.
No.
If you don't mind me asking, I actually thought your story was very inspiring on what keeps you driving, what keeps you going, right? You said did you grow up in a rich household, or how did that happen?
No, there was 9 kids in our family. Working, family. I'm an immigrant from Mexico. My parents are also immigrants. We migrated, and my parents were basically. They gave us the essentials, roof, clothes on our backs, and the basics to survive. But one of the things that they did give us that was totally the most valuable asset they could give us was a work ethic.
Yeah.
Remembering hearing Dad get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go work construction. Remembering Mom who had to get 5 little girls ready to go to school, get them to school, and then she takes off to go clean houses.
Yeah.
So that, it was very humbling. But at the same time, there's also different circumstances where as a child, you want things.
Yeah.
And when mom says, sorry, we don't, we don't have, and it's tough. But then that kind of gave me that motivation that, you know what, I want to do something for myself so that later on I could have those things, or maybe I could give those things to my children, and it's sort of a driving force behind, you trying to accomplish something in life, and once again with the business, like all the different, my trucking company, we started, with zero, and we've built it up. I started as a driver. I drove for 20-something odd years. So, it was not like, oh, here you go, I'm going to give you this, and, no. It's just working, starting from here and just working your way up. Always remaining humble. Always remaining humble. I think, that humble pie is a very good one.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people, start, and all of a sudden they start to, grow whatever it is they're trying to grow. Next thing you know, you see them pushing their chest out a little bit, trying to down talk other people, and you should never do that. In my opinion, I think you should always remain humble in life. If you have accomplished, or you haven't, or you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Okay. Tying all this into, because I really do believe in this. And we have this talk within our families. We have a very diverse family. We have everything: Hispanic, Mexican, Black. We have everything. It's a whole melting pot. We always have this debate at the house, and I do feel a lot of times that within our culture, especially in the Latino culture, if somebody's doing well, a lot of times people have the tendency to try to step down and not let that other person come
Just say
up.
it, Miguel, they're haters.
No, it's not haters. It's, what's the word to say? As you come up, I believe it's your responsibility to give a hand,
right,
and help pull that person up somehow, whether it be with knowledge, whether it be just giving positive vibes. There's something that you can give. Do you feel we can use a little bit more of that in our culture?
Yes. This is some of the topic that I don't like to get into. It does get a little negative, but it's the reality of life. There is going to be people that are going to try to, stomp you down, or they're just sometimes you just get, let's be real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real.
No,
It's part of life.
Envy,
it's out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does come from. From people close to you, unfortunately.
Yeah. So do you give that back?
Oh no.
So what do you do to? So you have to calculate. Never. How do you do it?
I vibe it sometimes from different people, but what I just try to do, I just say, you know what? I just try to, wish them well.
Yeah.
And just try to.
Yeah.
Because I just think that envy is a very bad thing.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
It's not something good at all.
No, I don't think that's something that you should even have in your vocabulary. It's just not what you want to be.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And one of the stories you've actually told me, but it wasn't the physical thing itself. It was more of the accomplishment of it. If you don't mind telling me the story again. You're telling me about that one time you actually bought your trophy car, right? So what's the story behind that? It's not you bragging, but it is self-accomplishment. We all have certain things. So what was that story behind the car? We'll have John take a photo of it afterwards so they can see. But what's the story behind that?
Okay, so I had, I think sometimes we set goals for ourselves. And back a long time ago, I've always, I've wanted, that I was always sort of like that. You could probably look at it as a material thing, but it was also a goal for hard work, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But that Mercedes, I had that, oh man, I want to,
Yeah.
And so one day, this is how it all worked out. So one day I told my wife, let's go to Costco. Because I think we were going to go buy a treadmill too. So we were on the 60 heading, towards the Costco. And I just went right past the exit, and I was like, "Where are we going?" And I'm just like, "Just chill, let's just go." So I go down the 91. So I drive down the 91. I go to Walters, and I'm literally in my, in my sandals and shorts and one of my company shirts, and I go to Walters Mercedes-Benz, and we walked onto the dealer, and And so me and her right there, and there's literally like 5 salesmen standing right outside, and judging the book by its cover.
Yeah.
And they didn't say nothing to me. We were out there kind of looking around a little bit, and we're just seeing some of the used ones out there. And a gentleman by the name is Joe Pickens.
Uh-huh.
He's from South Central Los Angeles. Was working out here at the Walters, and he had just clocked into work. He had just walked out to the lot. And he looked, and I guess we were the only ones there at that time, so he did a beeline to her. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. Hey, you looking at it? I said, yeah, well, I'm just looking, kind of a thing, But he didn't judge a book by its cover, and he ended up, asking if I wanted to test drive a car and all that kind of good stuff. It was some of the used ones they had out front. And I remember saying to him, and I looked at him and said, listen, Joe, I have worked very hard for every dollar that I have. And that's what I want in this car. And he kind of looked at me like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And then it rang, like a light bulb went off in his head. He's like, oh, I know, come on, let's go inside. So he takes me to the showroom.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they had that car was just there, and I just did a beeline to it. And it's this beautiful, matte finish with a Santi spoiler system, a Santi 22-inch staggered rims.
Yeah.
I mean, just this beautiful vehicle. And I'm like, this is the one. So, okay, all right. So they're like, okay, let's go do a little bit of paperwork. So within 10, 15 minutes, everything's approved, boom, there. And then, especially when you pull a car to the showroom, most of these dealerships, they tend to, bells and whistles kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So everybody, and then they're pulling the car to the showroom, and all the salesmen that were sitting out front, all of a sudden they go inside and say, and I remember I was standing off to the side, and Joe's kind of like over there with one of the sales managers, and a few of those salesmen that were out front that didn't even look at us twice, went up to him and they were like, hey, what? And then Joe turns around and points at me. And when they turned and looked at me, I could almost literally see the blood go to their nose. They're like, oh, man. Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, I think that's one of those things that in life, I think we need not judge people by the cover.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to go with that story, it goes back to the constructive criticism as well. One of the things I've learned actually throughout the time is, especially here in this facility, it's actually pretty funny. People will be like, why would you open the gym in Moreno Valley? Like, it's Moreno Valley, right? But people don't know, like, we have some pretty big hitters in this gym that are like pretty low key, believe it or not. And I've actually learned through time that part of the things I've been working on, to better myself is not judge a book by its cover and always treat every person the same as you would another person. You never treat this particular person a certain way because they have a certain amount of fame.
That's right.
Which we know, Randy was on this talk, we deal with a lot with it in the fitness industry. Treat everybody exactly the same, I actually had this experience one time when I was at the LA Fit Expo, and I actually make the stuff for the guy that we sponsor. And it was funny because every time I was there, it comes back down to eating that humble pie. It doesn't matter what part of the business you are, you always work it. So I was just working the line. People were coming in to take photography, photos with this guy. And then they're like, oh man, it must be so awesome to work for this guy. Or it must be so awesome, like, how did you get a job with him? And I'm just there like, oh, I don't know, I just got lucky, So then one guy came up to me, he's like, hey, can you actually give me the name to the owner? And I'm like, and I was talking to him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm the owner. And they were just looking at me. They're like, wait, you're the owner? Because I was only like 24 at the time. They're like, exactly. But it all comes back. I've noticed through life experiences that you can't judge a book by its cover. And so I do really believe, and that's exactly why I brought you on, was I do believe look at everything as constructive criticism, no matter what story, no matter what you're going through in life. Never take anything personal. If somebody does give you criticism and you don't agree with it, don't take it personal. Be like, hey, that one just didn't apply to me.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
Now, Francisco, to wrap it all up, it can be any topic. What is the one piece of advice you can give to someone that you live by? The one thing that stands out to you to help somebody become a better person or just progress in life? It can be any topic.
Any topic.
It's not just, hey, come to Underground Fitness. We know that one. But it can be any other thing.
Any topic. I don't know if I would want to say any topic. Maybe I would just want to say just different things that you kind of piece together to try to be. This is what I live my life by, and I've been pretty good so far in instilling this. And there's just several different thoughts that I think we try to just put into your life on a daily daily basis, which is health, wealth, love, joy, and abundance. Mm-hmm. Those things you instill into your life, and I think you'd be all right. And I think when you put those things together, whether it be for your physical, for your emotional, for your your business or whatever, I think you just try to put all those things together, and you should be okay. And just try to know that there's going to be bumps in the road, and just keep striving.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next locker room talk. Right there. All right, cool, you got it. Man, that was awesome. It would be too easy, man. But it was a natural, right?
Can we redo mine?
You want me to do it?